titled No Teacher Left Behind. Yes, I know. I tell you. Have you noticed that this generation of young kids in our classrooms today is not like the generation of the yesterdays? This generation today is called Generation Y, and I guarantee you there's 20 times throughout the day that you say to yourself, why do they do what they do? They're a different beast. It's a generation that shows up late to class, looks you in the eyes and says, you ought to be happy this face even came to school today. Like you're privileged, they're there. It's a generation. I remember a time when I was young and you'd be in the classroom and you'd say, teacher, may I use the restroom? And the teacher would say, no. And you would hold it. And you would squirm in your seat until that bell rang. These kids today just jump up and say, hey, I'm going to the bathroom. Who else wants to go? You don't have the power. The parents don't have the power. The kids have the power. I'm going to give you insight on how we've evolved and how these kids today have become so empowered. And most importantly, the tools that you need to wrangle them in so that you can have control of your classroom and also lift their spirits and get them going in the right direction. For the first time ever in American history, we have 4 generations inside our schools working side by side. This has never happened before until recently. 4 generations who have their own belief system, their own ideas, their own values, and each generation brings their own commotion. This has never happened before, so one of the things that we have to understand is there's a communication problem there. These kids today that you are teaching have been micromanaged from day one. Their parents sometimes have gone to move their whole entire family to a new neighborhood just to get them into a certain school. Their parents are picking out the best soccer teams and Boy Scout troops to join and Girl Scouts, and their parents are running wild trying to give this kid everything that they can, and this young generation has become empowered from that. So they show up to your classroom. They look you in the eyes and they're saying, you better lead me. And if you try to pull that old school approach to teaching, I'm the teacher, I have authority, and if you don't abide, you're going to be in for it, it doesn't fly with this generation. Because this generation will push you and test you to the point that you want to retire and give up. Some of you are like, I'm there right now. What are you talking about? Here's an example. I remember being at home one time and a phone rings and a lady says, hey, I'm Miss Jamison from down the street. I met your wife this weekend and I wanted to schedule a play date with your son for August 31st. Is he available at 1 o'clock? I said, crackhead, my son is 3 years old. She goes, well, if that date doesn't work, we can schedule it sometime in September. Look at his calendar and get back to me. I said, absolutely. And I hung up the phone laughing and I'm thinking, this lady's nuts. So I went out and found my wife and I said, we got a prank call. She goes, what'd they say? I said, oh, I want to schedule a play date, check your kid's calendar. And she goes, well, did you book it? I said, no, I didn't book it. What happened to the day when you would walk outside and you'd see Limpin' Bill and you're like, I'm stuck playing with you today? It's not like that anymore. These kids are micromanaged every bit of their schedule. I remember a time when parents would get together for parents to talk. Now it's parents getting together so their kids could play and the parents sit there and talk about their kids. I don't think that's right. I think that we have to regain the control, and we've lost touch of what a teacher is and what a parent is. This whole politically correct movement is nothing more than a passive approach on people trying to get you to give up the power and the control, and what happens is you lose the leadership. A child's brain is not developed until they're 13 years old to where they can understand consequences of behavior. And it's not till 26 years old that the human brain fully develops, that they understand what I can do with my life and they think long term. So all of their emotions control their behaviors right then. And you have to lead them. You have to teach them. The old school approach does not work. And so what happens is all of you are inbreds. You are inbreds in the way you teach how you're taught, or you were taught. You teach based on a model of what you, when you got in this profession, some of you, it could have been years ago, you teach on that same model. That model does not apply to these kids because they do not understand where you're coming from. And so what we have to do is, it's like a computer program. This program today is going to clear out your operating system and reload you with a new one so that you have the new up-to-date model for leadership with these kids' empowerment and to help them go in the right direction.